Hi there, it's Bill with the 𝙡𝙚𝙪𝙥 podcast. Now, if you're a listener to the show, you know that I've been doing this for a long time. But now there's an easier way to make a podcast. If you haven't heard about Anchor, let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or phone. The Anchor app will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Cheers. And we're live. Welcome back to the 𝙡𝙚𝙪𝙥 podcast with Will Summer. All right. Today on the podcast, I have a special guest all the way from jolly old England. What part of the UK are you from, Phil?
Just outside Liverpool, home of the Beatles, and it's not that jolly here. I've got to be honest.
Oh no.
No. I think we're all getting really sick of lockdown, so it's really not jolly at the moment.
Yes, same here in Canada. It's a little more free in Canada right now, but
that's because it's too cold to police the restrictions.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's true. So Phil is an entrepreneur. He's got a wife and two daughters. He is the host and creator of Billionaire and Boxers. And my understanding is you help people with podcasts try to level up their business, and you call yourself a connector.
I'm definitely a connector. I'd probably more say that I help businesses level up with podcasting rather than podcasters level up with their business. The reason being that it's kind of what's been the key for me to grow and sell two of my professional services businesses is that level up networking that comes from either having your own podcast and appearing as a guest. So people often see those as the same thing, but they're really not. They're two different strategies. I mean, your podcast is about level up networking because the guy who won't give you 5 minutes on the phone to pitch your services will give you an hour on a podcast to talk about themselves and talk about their business. So I call that part the VIP backstage pass to your industry, because now you can talk to anybody you want. And if you know that and you start to use it wisely, you can get things like keynote speaking gigs, regular media coverage. You get to hear about the deals before anybody else does. You get to work in partnerships and collaborations that make this thing fun. And that's what it's all about. However, the other side of it, which is actually our podcast publicity side, so these people tend not to have their own show. It's getting them in front of existing audiences that already exist, because the reason that people listen to podcasts primarily is to learn something. I mean, I'm not talking about the entertainment pods here, the crime and mystery pods and all that kind of stuff, as much as I love those things too. You don't listen to those to learn things. You listen to business podcasts and spiritual and personal and life and business development podcasts to learn something. You're trying to grow. So that's what I love about it, because it's the complete opposite of how normal sales is done. Because normal sales is buy my stuff and I'll give you some value. Whereas podcasting is I'm going to give you value for the next 45 minutes. And if you've resonated with me, come buy my stuff. Yeah. And it's such an authentic way of doing business. So I love it, dude. A lot of the time it's taking businesses who are good at what they do. They just need more customers to know, like, and trust them. And it's kind of plugging them in with existing networks, essentially putting them on a stage and giving them a spotlight. And I love it. It's a lot of fun.
Excellent. Now, what did you do before you were a podcaster?
It's hard to remember life before podcasting, really. I mean, I've been podcasting for 12 years now. Over 10,000 hours of podcasting, which is a long time. So the start of my journey was I was going to be a football player, like soccer player maybe for you, but that was my goal. In fact, my career was mapped out for me. I was going to play football, I was going to play for Liverpool, and then I was going to manage them. That was essentially going to be my career. And I was actually doing pretty well. I was well on the path to it happening. And then I ended up not getting picked within the UK, so I ended up moving to Hungary and playing in Central Europe, and it was a bit like, okay, I can still have a career, and it's not Liverpool, but it can still be fun. And then I kept fracturing my shin bone. So my shin bone now essentially is kind of like the consistency of dried spaghetti. So I got medically retired in my early 20s and told, that's it, you can't play anymore. And I went into coaching and I hated it. It was so boring. Like, I just wanted to be out there playing. I needed that break. And around this time, I went and started studying my surveying qualification. Actually, I'm going to sound like a real nerd now, but I still wanted to be involved. I still love the atmosphere of stadiums. So I thought, well, if I can't be playing in them, maybe I can build them. And I went into surveying to start learning about commercial surveying and sports management. I was fascinated by that. But around that time, sports fan podcasting had just become a thing, like an alternative form of media. And I love that because I really dislike the whole scripted, welcome to Friday Night Football, where we're going to run a load of stats at you for the next 35 minutes. And you think, that's not how people talk. People are, baselessly optimistic before a game and ready to throw themselves off a cliff after it. That's what real fans are like. So let's capture that. But I was quite uniquely placed because I was a raging fan that loved my club, but I was also someone who just left the academies and knew a lot of these players. And this is before the days of behind the scenes footage that clubs would show you. If you wanted to know what was going on at Liverpool behind the scenes, you'd have to stand on the bins and look over the wall at the training ground. Like, that was kind of your only way in. So having somebody that was kind of a fan, but also knew about the setup and how this stuff kind of worked, put me kind of uniquely placed. But what I didn't understand was why we were paying to do this. Like, why are we paying a couple of $100 for hosting and stuff? And like, this is silly. Like, we should be getting paid for this. We've got like 10,000 listeners or whatever it was at the time, 10, 20,000. And I said, they're mostly males aged between 18 and 35. We know that they have disposable income, and we know that they like this sport and probably this team. Like, are you telling me there's nobody that would want to market to that data?
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like, I didn't realize we could do that. So then we went and approached a few people. We got a couple of advertising and sponsors. And before you know it, we were making $1,500 an episode, which, between a handful of us, especially some of us are still students, was sweet, man. We were just talking just as we would down the pub. We were now just having our beer with a microphone in front of us, and we were getting paid to do it. It was brilliant.
Nice.
So when I went into the corporate world, I was still doing the podcasting. So when I was ready to leave the corporate world, I grew quite quickly, got to board level, was working over in Africa where I met my wife. Then she got pregnant, and I decided I didn't want to be in an office anymore. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted that flexibility to be wherever I wanted to be, whenever I wanted to be there, and to work the hours I wanted to work, right? So I rather naively thought, the phone's just going to ring with customers because I'm pretty well known. I mean, I got to board level in my 20s, and I've done a lot of keynote speaking stuff, so people are just going to call me. And it did not happen. In fact, not only did it not happen, it was tragic. I mean, I had 2 clients. One of them was a competitor who, I swear to God, they only worked with me because they were sick of being on the losing end of me. And the other one was the employer I just left. So now that just felt like I now just worked from home. That didn't feel any different. In fact, I'll tell you how same that felt. They kept my email address the same. Like, it literally just felt like I was now working from home. It didn't feel like I had my own company, and I was in charge of this anymore, So I didn't know what to do, and I made a few really bad decisions. Maybe I could partner with this person, and a few people came, and at this point, rather naively, I didn't realize that you would have sort of disingenuous people out there, and people would come to me and say, "Hey, I'm really good at this bit. Why don't we partner and we'll make loads of money together?" And it's like, sweet, you're good at the bit I'm really rubbish at. But actually, They're not. They just use the name to open doors, or they did it for their own purposes, or they learned something from us and never give anything back. And it for a long time I was beginning to think like I'd made a mistake here. Like this doesn't feel like I thought it would feel being a business owner. In fact, it was horrible. It was really stressful. I was constantly worried about money, constantly worried about having to over deliver for these clients all the time, because I was so paranoid that if they left, I wasn't going to be able to pay my bills. It sucked, dude. This really, really sucked. And my wife was not happy. I'd left the corporate world where I had a good salary and a pension, and she's like, "Go back." I was like, "I don't want to go back. Like, I hate it. Like, I want to do my own thing." And she's like, "But you hate this too." I was like, no. I hate the fact that this isn't working. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Like, I love this. I hate what's currently happening. So I decided to kind of reverse engineer it, and I thought, well, the thing that I always found most fascinating with the sports podcasting was that it got us tickets, and it got us flights, and it got us into press areas, and it got us access to players and ex-players and managers, like famous people associated with the clubs. That as normal fans, like, we'd have no place saying, "Hey, former player, do you want to have a beer with us?" But you invite them on a podcast, and they'll do that all day long. It's amazing. You become friends with these people. It's ridiculous. So I knew that it could act as this like incredible like VIP backstage pass. So then my logic was, I wonder if I could use that for business. So I made a very primitive strategy. I made a list of the top 100 companies that I'd love to work with, and I invited each of their CEOs onto a podcast to talk about two things. Thing number one, themselves. Everybody loves to talk about themselves. Rule number one. Point number two, their business. They're paid to talk about their business. So unless they're a massive introvert that is terrified of their own voice, they have no good reason not to come on this podcast. Yeah. Because I'm literally letting them talk about their two favorite things. The thing that makes them money and them. Right?
CEOs, man.
And let me give you an idea. Oh, dude, fast forward 3 months, right? I've had to hire 21 people full-time globally to help me deliver the work. I'm still having sleepless nights, but now it's because I'm worried that I've bitten off way more than I can chew. We got the balance right in the end, and we got the team right, and we got the structure right, and I used it for anything and everything then. I mean, I've got paid keynote speaking gigs on some of the biggest events globally. The British government paid for me to go to Shanghai and speak at one of the biggest of tech events out there. I got paid to speak at the event, paid up to travel and be put up in hotels. And then won hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business from the people in that room just from that presentation. Like, it's fun at this end, right? This end of the table is very different, and it's very fun. I get to collaborate with amazing people, and we are essentially like a team. I mean, the amount of businesses that we are working together on to help clients achieve results is ridiculous, because when you know, like, and trust someone and you go, I know exactly who can solve that, let me plug you in with this person. If you all know, like, and trust each other, and let's be honest, we usually have an affiliate with each other as well, so we're all getting like 10% of whatever comes through the door or whatever. Everybody wins. Everybody's just referring each other, and it's like working as a giant business unit, and that's fun. And at the beginning, so many business owners try and do that by themselves, right? They try and wear every hat in their business, and then they're so inward facing, they completely forget that there's an entire industry out there. I mean, let me give you one little thing just before I carry on about the podcast, because it's a big thing that when I learned it, it changed my life, right?
I'm enthralled.
If you don't have the money for certain services right now, okay, trade, right? Honestly, I know it sounds like such a simplistic thing to say, but the amount of people that I've gone to and I've been like, look, I need a website. You need money for said website. I don't have money. So we're already off to a problem. However, what I do have is a great knowledge of how to put you on a stage in front of loads of your ideal customers. So instead of just getting paid for me, I can get you paid by all of these people. I can get them interested in what you're doing and showcase who you are, get you polished, get you media ready, and put you out there. Some things are more valuable than money, mate. That's potentially worth 50, 100 deals. My deal's worth one deal. We got a fair trade? And the amount of times that people are like, yeah, dude, that'll like take me like an hour to knock up, dude. Let's do it. And again, because we're working with each other, it makes affiliates so much more easy, because I can now genuinely recommend his services because he did my website. Like, I know what this guy's like. I know how good he is. He did mine. And he knows how good I am because he's currently working with clients he has because of me. So many people don't do that, and they sit and think, if I only had money for Facebook advertising, things would be different in my business. And it's like, then go and partner with someone who can do some advertising for you. It's not difficult.
Yeah. But it's the startup that's the struggle, right?
But you can even do it right from the very beginning, because look, I have this saying that which is, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed.
And that goes for partners, it goes for employees, and it goes for everybody, but especially in business, it goes for partners, employees, and customers, right? Because we've all worked with customers that we really wish we hadn't bothered. They're usually the ones that you went above and beyond for, or you gave them a discount you don't usually do, and they always turn out to be a massive pain in the backside, right? And then in there, you've got a nice mix of client who pays their bills on time, loves what you do, never causes you a problem, and just ticks along nicely every single month. Well, your business needs more of them, right? And a good way to find more of them is, in my world, through podcasting. It's putting yourself out there. It's being genuine and authentic, because your vibe attracts your tribe. Because anybody who's instantly turned off by your personality, that's a good thing, because they would have been a really bad client for you. And that's not a criticism of them. You guys are just on different paths, so it would have clunked the whole way because you're not on the same frequency. But when you find someone who's on the same frequency as you, business is easy and it's fun, and you start to blur the lines between customer, client, and friend, because you really want their business to do well, and you know about them and they know about you, and it's a genuinely fun way of doing business. And you can do that right from the very beginning. You just need to know who you are and what you're trying to do. Just be genuine and honest about it. I mean, I've even used it for people pre-startup, right? So for me, a pre-startup is an entrepreneur who says, I want to go into business. I probably want to do something in that sector because I'm really interested in it, but I have no idea what to do, right? So we go and get them on podcasts in that industry, talking about the industry problems, what's going on in the industry, what are people talking about, what do they like, what do they not like, where are the opportunities. You go and do 10 podcasts in an industry like that, and I guarantee you'll know exactly what's going on in the industry, and you'll know what the problems are, and you'll have a rough idea of which ones you can solve.
There you go. Yeah, it's you gotta ship it before you build it.
Absolutely.
I like it. I like your philosophy. And yeah, what is one thing you'd wish you'd known before you started on this path?
Yeah, people by people, dude, I think is a big one for me to know. And you have to be very genuine. And I think for a long time, like everybody else, I tried to put up a mask or a bit of a face about like, everything's going great, everything's amazing, everything's this. And the problem when you're putting that message out there, worried about maybe customers not wanting to work with you if they know that you've got something going on, it's actually not true. It's the opposite is true, because two things happen when you come forward. So let's say you're having a problem with lead generation in your business, right? And then you message out to your network, right, guys, I'm loving the clients I'm working with, but I really need more of them, and my lead gen is not working for me. What's everybody that's working for them at the moment? Well, there's two things that have happened from there right now. Number one, your prospective client now knows you're a genuine human being that's learning and growing in business just like they are. So you're now far less intimidating for them to come and have a conversation with, because you're not this almighty guru that's got it all worked out. You're a genuine human that's really good at your bit, but is still learning the rest of it just like everybody else. And that's nice, right? The second thing that happens is people will answer your question. Oh, actually, I'm getting most of my leads at the moment through LinkedIn events. What? I'm not even using LinkedIn events. How are you getting most of your leads through LinkedIn events? You've just learned something new. You've now got another marketing channel. Someone else might drop you a message and say, actually, I did a video for one of my clients a few weeks ago on exactly this and how to get some organically from LinkedIn and Facebook. Do you want me to send you a link to the video? Yes, I do. So by putting it out there, you've got the solution. But how many business owners will sit for months and months and months with a pen and paper trying to painstakingly go, what can I do? What can I do that I haven't tried? Well, look, here's an idea. You don't know. Because if you did know, you'd have done it. So go and ask someone that knows. It's not rocket science, is it?
Yeah. I think that's a pretty human thing, like to think we all have it under control and then want to not ask for help until you're just like at the point of like pulling your hair out.
Brother, let me tell you something. I love asking for help. I didn't used to, but I do now, because I have a saying, which is the day I stop learning is the day I stop earning. And the way I learn is through podcasting and through asking questions. Like, I have billionaires in our network now. You think I'm not going to go to them and ask them for help? People who are making hundreds of millions of dollars every single year do, far, far, far further up the chain than I currently am. And they're a long way up to the point where they hurt my neck looking up to them. They're available for me to say, like, what would you do in this situation? Like, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? How would you handle this? Like, of course I'm going to ask them. I'm going to ask them, and I'm going to be a sponge. So, in fact, it got to the point where I probably don't even try and resolve that much in my business anymore. I have people around me that I trust, right? I am really good at my bit, and I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, but after so long perfecting it, I am. And I keep learning about it every day, and I keep practicing it, and I work with new clients, and I keep helping people, and we keep getting it right, and we keep tweaking it. So I am focused on that bit, okay? Where business works for me is where there are lots of things that then happen in business. So that's my product, right? I am great at my product. All the other stuff that happens in business, finance, recruitment, lead generation, marketing, sales, like all of them I've had problems with or individually on their own. But the great thing is, because of my network, I know people who are amazing at each of those individual bits, but they suck at my bit. So I've been able to go to them and say, how about I do my bit for you and you do your bit for me, and then we're both sorted. And the amount of people, once you're mixing in that tribe of people who get it, will just go, that's so good, because I could really, really do with that. And actually, you know what? I could definitely help you with this. It's so easy for me to do. Like, I could do this with my hands tied behind my back. And that's the point. You end up kind of being there with each other. Like, we could both do this with ease, but we're both going to be massively uplifted from our efforts. Let's do it. Let's do it. And it's such a powerful way of doing business, because then these are the people you then partner with, you learn from, and you share this, this whole experience with, and you level up together. Like, and anybody who's ever been a keynote speaker will tell you the very next question after you've been booked is, do you know anybody else that we should speak to? Who do you recommend that we talk to?
Referrals.
There's a reason that so many keynote speakers end up working together over and over again. We refer each other in. So if you're in a network of people that are all doing talks, it doesn't matter who gets the first phone call, you're all getting the invite.
Have you found a better stride in your business after COVID, or has there been a dip? Like, I guess there's not as many like in-person gigs, I guess I would say.
Yeah, so actually we've definitely grown as a business since COVID, because more and more people are forced online. So they're now forced to start looking at how to have conversations online. Plus we do promotional work with events and books. So you can imagine virtual book tours and virtual events have gone through the roof. So we're doing a lot of work with them. But we're doing a lot more work with publishing companies and magazine companies and newspapers that we never did before, because obviously less people are out about in the street buying magazines and buying newspapers. So they're still needing a way to drive traffic, usually to their online articles, so that they can sell subscriptions. And the way that they're doing that is, instead of having an hour-long conversation or an interview with somebody, asking 10 questions and then doing a write-up about 3 or 4 of them, they now record that interview asking those 10 questions and repurpose it as a podcast and redistribute it for different pieces of marketing content and repurpose it as well. So it's a clever way of driving traffic towards what they do. I guess the business could have grown even faster this year than it has if it wasn't for my health. So I caught COVID earlier in the year, and the actual virus itself wasn't all that bad for me, thankfully. However, I did develop this thing that they're calling long COVID, as did my wife. And, it is no joke. I probably had 7 months, if not more, of maybe feeling 30% of myself. I mean, we're talking severe brain fog to the fact like I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about anymore. Fever, can't eat, rapid weight loss, then rapid weight gain. Like the body has no idea what it's doing. In fact, the summer was the worst. I got this thing, I don't even remember what it's called, but essentially the muscles in between the rib cage becomes inflamed, and mine went into spasm and started to simulate a heart attack twice. So I got rushed into hospital twice over the summer with a suspected heart attack, only to be found that my heart was absolutely fine. However, here's the scary thing. This particular illness, this particular thing, because it is actually it's not like an anxiety attack where it's like a stabbing pain, but a lot of it's psychological. This is actually the muscles gone into spasm. So the head thinks the heart is having a heart attack, which can actually in turn cause you to have a heart attack, because your body starts to go through the responses that it would go through if you were having a heart attack. So brilliant. It sucked really, really badly. Now, there were some good things from it and some bad things, right? Bad things. Let's start with the bad and then go good, because there was lots more good than there was bad. There were a few people I thought I could count on that I really couldn't. That was the bad thing, and they're no longer with my business. I don't mess about like that, because if I can't trust you, then neither can my clients. So I'm not going to damage my reputation on somebody that doesn't want to work. End of story. So they let me down. Good things, however, loads of people stepped up, and I was really, really proud of them, and they're absolutely smashing it as a result. But I've got a much closer bond with them than I ever did before, because of how much, like, I was a control freak before. I had to touch everything, and to have to put everything down for almost 6 months and then find the business is still running really well. Credit to those guys and girls that made that happen. So I love them for it. The other thing that happened was, because I had a lot less time available because I was sick, instead of working 10 hours a day, I might now only be able to muster 2 hours a day. So I went back to all of my customers and said, okay, look, out of everything I do for you, what is the most useful bits for you? If I only have 2 hours a day instead of 10 hours a day, where do you want me investing that time?
80-20.
And 2 answers came back from everybody. Yeah, dude. 2 answers came back from everybody. Number one, your strategy. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's your mind. It's the fact that I can come to you, Phil, with a problem, and you don't see a problem. You see opportunities. You see, oh, we can do this, and him and her, and plug them, and let's get you here. And that's just how my brain works. And I love the fact that that's so valuable to people, because that's, you could replicate our services based on looking on our website, but you would never get the results that we get, because you don't have the same understanding, same creativity, the same in-depthness in that podcasting community. So you don't get it. So that was number one. Number two was the guest booking strategy, getting them on stages. Because, you got to imagine it physically. It's like me saying, okay, so your business has a problem with getting leads. How about I go and put you on a stage with 50,000 people sat in the audience who all have this problem? I want you to go and talk to them about how they can do a solution for it, and then offer them a product at the end of your talk. How many sales are you going to get? Because that's what podcasting is. And I can do that 2 or 3 times a month, or 2 or 3 times a week, depending on what you want. That's going to put you in front of a lot of people, plus the fact it's evergreen, plus the fact it's great for SEO, plus the fact it's great for backlinks, plus the fact you can repurpose it for loads of content. There is no negative in this, right? There's only pluses. So we ended up creating a new product. It was something that we kind of did on the side anyway, but it's now become an official product, which was our podcast publicity product. Has kind of changed shape, but we've introduced a starter pack as well, which I'll tell you about at the end if you're interested. But essentially the starter pack is 2 strategy sessions with me plus 3 podcast bookings, 2 within your network that are perfect for you off the back of our strategy calls, and 1 on the Billionaires in Boxes network. So 350,000 subscribers plus 2 global radio stations that cover North America, UK and Ireland and Australia. That's the best way I know of introducing you to my network, right? So that product came about because of that reason, and it's revolutionized our business, because it now means that when we're going through this, everybody now does the starter pack. If you come to me and say, Phil, I want to do 12 months of podcast publicity, you're still starting with the starter pack, because it's the foundation, right? I'll tell you the 2 things it does for me, and hopefully people will take something from this for their own businesses as well. Thing number 1, it allows me an opportunity to show massive value to my customers. So even though I'm giving them a strategy that they could take and do by themselves for the next 12 months, me and my team are so good at it, they're not going to want to. They're going to stick around and they're going to become monthly customers, which is usually what happens, right? The other thing that we do, and this is a big one for me, is it gives me an opportunity to see whether you're somebody I want to empower and whether you're somebody I want to work with moving forward. I mean, if you've been a complete jerk when I've been trying to get you booked on 2 podcasts and mine plus 2 strategy sessions, you think I'm going to commit my time to working with you for 12 months? No chance.
No.
I love what I do, but I love what I do because I love the fact that it empowers great people. If I don't like you, I don't want to empower you. That's not going to be fun for me. So, and not fun for you either, right? Do you really want somebody working with you that doesn't like you? So, if we don't get on, if we're not gelling together, then let's just listen. Here's the strategy. Make it work for you, brother. Best of luck.
Yeah, man, that's business, right? It's based on relationships,
That's business.
What I didn't ask you this question, but if you're a doomer, because we're like, my podcast focuses on people who have generally been through dark times and want to come out the other side being a more of a bloomer. But what would be your best advice to help them out if they're in a bad spot right now? Like you said, you just had COVID this past year. I went through my own struggles. Everyone goes through that for a period of time.
Well, I can go one step. Let me give some advice, but let me go one step further back as well, because I think this will probably surprise people. Because a lot of people will listen to me now and they'll see me now, and I've heard it. People say stuff like, "Oh, you're so lucky," or "It's easy for you because," right? So let me tell you something about me.
No such thing as overnight.
Single parent family on benefits.
There you go.
No, grew up in a state home, no money. Got my first job at 12 because if I ever needed anything, including new school uniform, I was going to be paying for it. Had to develop that entrepreneurial spark quite quickly, which started off with things like, instead of selling packets of strawberries that I get paid like $2 an hour to sell for people to go and pick their strawberries, I'd pick them for them and charge them an extra couple of dollars and pocket that. On the way home, riding back from work, I'd knock on the old people's houses that I knew couldn't come out to the farm, and I'd offer them fresh pallets of strawberries for an extra few dollars on top, and I'd pocket that. And that's how I made my money. Roping in friends from school. Hey, listen, come and pick as many strawberry crates for me as you want, and your payment is you can eat as much as you want. Go nuts. Right? They did. Like, all the kids of the neighborhood just hanging around strawberry fields, eating strawberries and picking them for me to sell. It's brilliant, right? But, I got kicked out of school when I was 14. Was homeless for a bit. Couch surfed a lot. Disowned by my family at a pretty young age, so that was the end of the story with them certainly at that stage. So for a long time I was kind of just on my own. This was all happened as well around the time that my football career fell apart. So I literally had nothing and nobody at that point. All my friends were in the game, and they didn't understand the life outside of the game, and neither did I. But yeah, I was trying to figure it out, and there was nobody there for support. I left the corporate world, and I had this what I thought was an amazing opportunity, right? Because what had happened was, I was working with this company in Johannesburg, and the guy basically said, "Hey, let me give you this contract." It was great. It was like a monthly retainer every month. So it was going to be $4,000 or $5,000 coming in every single month. It was commission based, but it was regular money that I knew was earnable every single month. Boom, boom, boom. So it was great while I was growing my business, because I always knew I'd have like $4,000 or $5,000 there, and then I could go and build. And then my wife was pregnant, and we wanted to move back to the UK. But the problem was, because I'd been out of Europe for so long, we needed a stop off somewhere in Europe for 12 months or whatever it was, or something like that. So if my wife could get her visa, she, for some reason, as a South African, she couldn't go straight from South Africa to the UK because the UK is snobby. We had to go somewhere else in the EU and then move back. It was It was stupid, but it's it's the UK. It's just our immigration. So what can I say? But this guy contacted me from the same company and said, I know what you're doing with the guy in Joburg. You could do the same thing for me in Budapest. And I played in Budapest. All my friends were in Budapest. My old apartment was in Budapest. In fact, I still had suitcases of stuff in Budapest. So this felt like fate. So it's like, I am all over this. So I came back, moved to Hungary with a pregnant wife on a commission-only job. Turns out the guy is completely full of crap. He can't close a barn door. Right, he cannot. The reason he's struggling is he can't close anything. So what he's hoped is that me being so good at generating business, he's now going to be able to, close 1 in 10 and still make money. But for me, that was terrible because I only made money when he made money, and a lot less of it than he did because he was the major consultant. He was the client, right? So my wife and I ended up in this position that we were broke, like really, really broke, and I was like. I can honestly tell you, like, I can talk about it now, but for a long time I wouldn't have been able to talk about this without getting into tears because you have no idea how crap a man I felt. My wife is hungry and thousands of miles away from home and pregnant, and I can't afford to take her to the doctors to make sure the baby's okay. Like, do you have any idea how much of a shit that makes me feel?
That's rough,
that
dude.
Was like,
that's rough.
I'd messed up, right? I had messed up. And I needed to fix it, and I had no idea how. So in the end, I managed to get just enough money together to get us back into the UK. And I thought, okay, what skills do I have? What can I do? All this kind of stuff. And I won a handful of clients, as I said earlier, and I started working with them, but I was constantly stressed about money. I was constantly stressed that I wasn't going to be able to afford my rent, and we were going to end up in a position like we were in Budapest again. And I was always really fearful of that, which is why every time I got an opportunity, I would always see if I could 10x it. Because if that one opportunity could get me out of trouble, if I could 10x it, I'm well out of trouble, I'm safe. So even if I never hit that 10 and I only hit 6 or 7, I'm still miles away from destruction. So for a long time, my climb to the top, if you will, I mean, I'm a long way from the top, I'm still going, but my climb up that ladder was motivated not by desire to get to the top of the ladder, but fear of not going anywhere near that 𝘁𝗻𝙫 section anywhere again. Because that sucks. That bit really, really sucks, right? And what I wish I knew then that I know now is that if you ever look at the cycle of flow or the hero's journey or anything like that, you realize that the bit that's most after pain is acceptance and release. It's understanding that this is the situation. There is something this isn't happening to you. It's happening for you. You are still in this position for 2 reasons. Life is saying, he still hasn't got it. He still hasn't learned it. We're going to have to show him again until he learns this lesson. So stop looking at it from a victim mentality and start looking from it as what am I supposed to be learning from this, right? The second thing is acceptance that just as it is crap now, it will be just as great at some stage in the future. And if you genuinely believe that, that's how you instantly let go of this, which if you think about it, and I'm not criticizing because I've been through it, but if you think about depression, that's why depression is so hard to get out of, especially on your own, because a depressed mind is everything's crap and it's always going to be crap. There is no prospect that this will ever get better. Well, if you truly believe that, of course it's not going to start getting better. But if you're looking at this as it's going to get better, I just need to learn something from this, you've already made that acceptance and you're on the way to the next level.
Man, that's insightful. I think people are going to get a lot out of that. That helped.
Absolutely.
It's a mindset shift. I find a lot of it is just shifting your mindset from, like you said, from the doomer. This is happening to me versus this is happening for me, and that's what traction is. It moves you forward.
Well, it's people's misunderstanding of the subconscious mind as well, though, I mean, people feel like their subconscious mind runs them, and they don't. You run your subconscious mind. And a great example for that is we've all done that thing where we've bunked off work, right? And we've called in with the sick voice, hey, I can't come into work today, I'm not very well, right? We've all done it. Later that day, you start to feel sick. You start to feel unwell. every single time, because your brain has said, I'm not well. Your voice has said, I'm not well. You've put it out there to the universe and told someone else. So your subconscious mind goes, oh, apparently we're not well. What do we do when we're not well? Oh, we get a fever and a sore throat and a bit of a runny nose. And what starts to happen? All of those things, right? It's the same way as when you get out of bed and you stub your toe in the morning and you go, well, that's great. It's going to be a really shit day, you know? Guess what happens? You have a really, really crappy day.
With that attitude.
That's what you've just put. That's what you've just put out there.
That's the attitude, right?
Yeah. So, but people think like it's the universe or, you know, something is listening and making this happen. It's your subconscious mind and it's always on. But if you think about your subconscious mind as being like a computer that only picks up keywords and key thoughts. So it's going to replay and try and program for you a setting based on your keywords and key thoughts, which is why positive affirmations don't work if your mindset's not right. Standing in the mirror saying, I am beautiful, while your head goes, you ugly, ugly man, is not going to help. It's completely counterproductive.
Yeah, because your brain can work.
You know?
Your brain works. Your brain works faster than what you can verbalize.
Absolutely. And it doesn't believe it. I mean, essentially, those affirmations become pointless because as you say them out loud, your brain goes, liar, liar, that's not true. We don't do that. And that's not helpful. Whereas if you can start to reprogram that subconscious and say to it, no, this is my situation, you know, often it starts with setting the intention the day before. You know, my wife is probably sick to death of me hearing it. Every night I will tell her what I have on the next day and why I'm excited about it. Ooh, I've got this call with Jeff at 10. It's going to be amazing. We're going to talk about this, and I'm actually really excited to explore this with him. And then I've got another one at 12, and then boom, boom, boom. And I got this podcast. I'm really looking forward to it because it's about this, and I'd love to help people get from that doomer stage to a bloomer stage because honestly, life is so much more fun at this end. In fact, where I am right now, if you'd have told me 10 years ago that this place even existed, I'd have called you a liar. Right? So I want to help more people get to that bit. So I get excited the night before about all of this stuff. And that's what allows me to wake up every morning with the excitement for what the day is going to come. And if something happens and someone doesn't turn up for a meeting or something doesn't go the way I want it to, it's really simple, dude. You just go, great, I've got an extra time to go and make myself a tea or a coffee, or what am I going to do with the extra 15 minutes? You know what? I'm going to rock out to my favorite 80s rock tunes in the kitchen while I make myself a tea. Like, it's fun. Have fun with it.
Yeah, your thought. This is what I like. I don't like to preach, but I like to recommend that your thoughts are create your reality.
Massively, dude.
Right.
You're so right.
You know, and like even now in like my office, like I just surrounded myself with positivity. It's, you know, it's a no negativity zone. You know. Like I'm really glad we connected, Phil.
Me too, brother.
I think I might try your starter pack. I'm not.
Mate, you're more than welcome to. I mean, it unlocks a lot of things. Genuinely, it's Look, I mean, I think the idea with the starter pack, as I said, was it's massively discounted, and the idea is that it adds a lot of value. Now, for some people, this will be enough just to kind of get them on the way and show them where they need to be, but. You know, only 10% of podcasters will ever make any money from podcasting directly or indirectly, according to Statista. And as somebody who's been doing it for 12 years, I've clearly got something right. We've got a 100% success rate. So, dude, I just like to understand who you are, who it is you're trying to help and talk to, get you that podcast ready product, and then let's get you on that stage.
I'm trying to help doomers, man.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people out there that need support for sure.
I'm trying to reach that demographic of people who fell through the cracks, who have that creative mindset and they want to build something next level in their life. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, they got hard knocked in their life. Mm-hmm. And they're down and out, and they're looking for that little hand up. Whether it be this podcast, or if like down the road, I want to build like a doomer bloomer guide for people. If you're struggling with the mental health issues like I have in the past,
you should do a course of things that actually work, actionable advice. I mean, that was the thing that I always hated at that stage in my life was, you know, people would say at the time would seem such stupid stuff. You know, when you're depressed and having an anxiety attack, just breathe. And it's like, oh, thank you. I mean, I forgot about oxygen when I'm stressed. Like, what a stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, I understand what they're saying now. It's like there's certain breathing techniques and stuff. But like when you're in that place, you're just like, what a ridiculous thing to say. But the reality is that when you start to look at it from a logical perspective instead of an emotional perspective, and that's how I think a lot of us get out of that state. Because when you're in that state, woe is me is very easy. In fact, it's comfortable. It's the default setting. It's not the world. It's me. I'm just broken. You know, it would work for other people, but it wouldn't work for me because I'm screwed. You know, it's that kind of approach. So if you can snap people out of it with just fact and logic, you can just prove to somebody that's not true, right? Plug them in with the right people, introduce them to the right course, give them something that they're going to go, if I take this step and this step and this step, these results are going to happen. And they do it. I don't believe it. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'll take the steps because I'm committed to it. 1, 2, 3, result. Wow, I didn't think that was going to happen. I wonder what else I'm wrong about. And then your subconscious mind changes because now it starts to doubt itself. Maybe the programming was wrong. Maybe I don't know everything. Maybe I'm not that as broken as I thought. And if you keep that process going with a good community around you, like honestly, we all have moments like this. Like I have so many mentors and friends around me who pick me up when I'm feeling low, and I do the same for them. Like don't suffer this alone, you know? And I love the message. I love what you're doing, and I think there's a great environment there. I actually think you'd find a lot of these people in the corporate world as well, because I think a lot of people, I heard a saying earlier that actually when I heard it, it really resonated with me, which is, a salary is the bribe they pay you to give up on your dream.
Yeah, the JOB, just over broke.
Yeah, that's the one, man. And it's like, it's so true, isn't it? When you look at it that way, it's like you have given up on your dream for comfort and stability, but it's a fake comfort, because if they close that company down tomorrow, you're not comfortable, you're not secure, nor is your house, nor is your bills, nor is your family, right? So it's a false sense of security. And deep down, people know this. So they become disillusioned because they're trying to do what life has told them is the right thing to do. Go to school, work hard, go to college, get good grades, get a job, progress the corporate ladder. They're trying to do what everybody told them was the right thing to do, and it's screwing them over.
It's an outdated model.
And actually, people... Well, look, it was built in the Industrial Revolution. We're not in the Industrial Revolution anymore. If anything, we're in the entrepreneurial revolution. It's bespoke businesses working with businesses all over the world in a digital age where we can communicate and work with whoever the hell we want. So why are you still working in that job you hate for that boss who's a prick?
I love it. I love it. It's so true, man. It's just... I think there is like you said, like people get stuck, right? You know, like they're like, if you believe what I believe in, like like the quantum realm and like parallel universes, maybe there's a version of Phil that got stuck in Budapest, and there he is.
Maybe
he you know, there is.
There's probably a version of Phil who plays for Liverpool somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And there's probably a version of me that probably stayed in Quebec. Like, there's just, if you think of all the quantum decisions that we make,
we get to decide. That's the point.
There you go.
We get to decide, and people, I think, forget that. Like when they're in their darkest place, they forget that it's a choice. You get to decide what happens from here, right? And you're so right about there's lots of different alternative realities, but there's different alternative realities here. You know, the right person can change your life overnight, instantly, like right away. Like, think about love, right? We've all been in love at some stage in our life. It doesn't have to be somebody you're in love with right now, because you meet when you're supposed to meet, and you're on somebody's journey while you're supposed to be on their journey, right? But we've all had that feeling of love, and the problem with love is it can't be replicated, can it? So you think about, let's take your wife, right? Your wife does X amount of things for you. So you make a list of the things that your wife does for you and the things that you like about her. Well, I could go and replicate that with another person who does all of those things and looks a certain way and dresses things and wears the same perfume. You're not going to love them, because it's not their personality that you love. There's something else about them that has connected you to them, and nothing is ever going to be the same again. It's going to change. And in many ways that happens in business and in friendship. I have a friend of mine who, he's like a brother to me. Like, in fact, he's closer to me than most of my family. Like, I love him like a brother. My wife knows his wife. Our children know each other and play together. He is, for all intensive purposes, my brother. We met 5 or 6 years ago, on a podcast, of all places. But in fact, what was really weird is I ended up doing my ancestry DNA, and it turns out that in the 1600s, we're both from a tiny village of 300 people. So the likelihood is that we were probably related.
You're probably cousins.
Yeah, exactly. We're not brothers. We're like 16th cousins removed or something after some inbred incident happened in some country farm somewhere in the 1600s in Central Ireland. There was wine flowing. There was no potatoes. Stuff got weird.
Exactly. Stuff got weird.
Blame the Guinness.
Isn't it? Yeah, that's the Ireland's main export.
Definitely.
Here's another good question for you. How can you be of service to your community and the world? I talk about the 𝙁𝙁𝙁𝙁 a lot on this channel, just because it's been my go-to. But how do you feel about service? Like,
I love that. So I'm a people person. I just love people. So I've always been the connector, and that's been my role ever since I was a child, has been the connector. Business, life, anything. 2 of my best friends are married together because I introduced them. I get a kick from it. Maybe it's because I come from sport, so I see things as like a team thing. And I know that no individual player, no matter how good, can win a game all by themselves. So I'm constantly recruiting in my mind. So if I come across someone who, let's say, in my mind as a business, they're a big, tall centre forward striker. Well, I don't play with big, tall centre forwards because I don't really have any wingers. I like quick on the ground football. But I do know someone who plays long ball football and is great at crosses. This marketing team over here. So I'm going to introduce you, Mr. Business Owner, that reminds me a bit of a big, tall striker, to the guy who puts loads of crosses in, because you two are going to smash it together. That's my service. It's the ability to be able to see how people fit together and make important relationship introductions that really change the game.
Damn. Any closing thoughts?
You know what, dude? I just tell people to get started, genuinely.
Yeah.
Whether it's with me or whether it's with somebody else or whatever it is, you just got to get started. There's no barrier to entry anymore. Okay. Look, I teach people how to make a real success of this. You can find some success in this on your own. Just go out and get started and try things. All I'm doing is showing you, hey, look, over the last 12 years, I've made all the wrong decisions so that you don't have to. And I now know the right ones. But if you want to go try your luck and, every 10 doors that you try, 2 of them will be right. That's not a terrible ratio. That's still 2 more right doors than you have right now sat on your backside doing nothing. Go meet people, go talk to people, go see what's important. You're a bit lost in your life right now. Go and have conversations with different people and even listen to podcasts. Go and listen to lots of different things. Get lost. Go down a rabbit hole, learn something new, and see what resonates with you. See what you find yourself getting interested in and why, and dig deep, right? Dig deep. Don't just go, oh, I'm listening to cold case files, so maybe I should be a detective. No, what kind of cold cases are you listening to? Maybe you're listening to things about family massacres and you're thinking, well, actually, maybe you miss your family. What is it that's telling you? It's telling you should probably go talk to your family. You get what I mean? Just follow this through. Like, try and think a bit more analytically about your own brain and your own process. But a great way to do that is just go and talk to other people, because I promise you, you may not even have the keys to help you out of this place right now, but I guarantee you someone else does, and they're more than willing to trade.
Willing to trade. And what is the best place to connect with you online?
Either my LinkedIn profile, so I have a really unusual name, which is Phil Pelucha, Pelucha. If you go and search for me on LinkedIn, if you go and search me on Google, you find all of my social media profiles, including LinkedIn. If you go to billionairesinboxes.com, you can find all of our details there, including the details of the starter pack I mentioned earlier, if that resonated with you. Definitely get in touch. Look, like I said, I'm the connector. If I don't know someone, I'll know someone who does.
That's awesome. All right. Thanks, Phil. It's been great having you on the podcast. And that is some of the best advice I've heard in a long time. And I think there's going to be a lot of value in this episode. And I'm going to push this episode so hard.
And always good to hear. Well, I hope people have found it helpful, brother. I really do.
All right. And thanks for tuning in. You can follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms and YouTube. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, the Doomer Bloomer Podcast. Look us up. All right. Peace.